When we think of lifeboats, many of us think of wooden boats attached to swan neck davits lowered the full length of the ship with the drama of worried first-class ladies and their children, leaving the men behind to an uncertain fate. Despite the fact that this was the norm in the Edwardian era, we couldn't be further from that truth today. Welcome to Fast Facts Friday. My name is Eleanor. Just a quick disclaimer for a younger audience before we dive in. This story may be disturbing to some, so viewer discretion is advised. Okay everyone, let's get into it. This channel explores shipwrecks and the mistakes made in all of these disasters, and one of the biggest concerns universally stems from the old practice of having fewer lifeboats than needed. So, what does lifeboat safety look like today, and what precautions are in place to protect passengers? To name a few safety features right off the bat, smoke detectors and fire prevention systems are in place to aid in firefighting at sea, security personnel that act as first responders until law enforcement can take over, emergency response plans and regular drills, CCTV cameras to monitor public spaces, and lifeboats and life rafts are among the many other safety features all found on modern passenger ships. Due to the popularity of the Titanic disaster and the common knowledge she did not carry enough lifeboats for everybody on board, lifeboats and their capacity are oftentimes in the forefront of a potential cruiser's mind. Fortunately, we've learned a lot from the mistakes of the past. The loss of Titanic led to the establishment of the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea, or SOLAS, which required ships to carry enough lifeboats for everyone on board and mandated lifeboat drills and inspections. They also established the International Ice Patrol to monitor icebergs in the North Atlantic. All ships are advised to have double hulls, emergency procedures were standardized, and there was increased training and appropriate personal protection became standard. In terms of radio communications, all ships must have 24/7 radio communications and have a backup radio power supply to keep communications running. SOLAS, though it's been amended as needed over the years, is still operational today. The lifeboats of today are brightly colored to be seen in the ocean easily, and line both sides of the ship. They can safely carry passengers in the event of an emergency, or be used as tender boats to carry passengers to port in the event that a ship cannot dock at a pier. Lifeboats line the middle of the ship on both sides, and are required to be 10 to 15 feet from the water in general. Typically, they are bright orange or yellow. They were only orange until the 1990s when Disney Cruise Line requested the ability to paint theirs yellow to match Mickey Mouse's shoes, and this was granted. Since then, other companies like Royal Caribbean have painted their lifeboats other shades of yellow. Cruise ships typically have two types of lifeboats: enclosed lifeboats and lifeboat tenders. Most cruise ships have enclosed lifeboats, which are meant to be sturdy and watertight in the event the boat needs to be at sea in rough waves. Lifeboat tenders that are partially enclosed are meant to either serve as a lifeboat in the event of an emergency, or can also be used to ferry passengers from the ship to a port where the cruise ship cannot dock. As for the layout of a lifeboat, towards the top of the vessel you'll find a steering area with windows and a hatch. Most enclosed lifeboats will have no windows except for those found in the steering area. Alternatively, lifeboat tenders do have windows for passenger viewing, though they do not open. As for seating, there are rows upon rows of seats, and these seats may or may not have backs to them. As for lifeboat capacity, the average cruise ship lifeboat has space for 150 people each, in accordance to the International Maritime Organization's International Life-Saving Appliance Code. Most cruise ships have lifeboats that can hold the maximum number of passengers possible, since this is most cost-effective and takes up less room alongside the ship. However, there are some really cool exceptions that make ship nerds like us go hell yes. One of those exceptions is Royal Caribbean's Oasis of the Seas, a cruise ship meant to carry a whopping 8,880 passengers and crew members, and this ship was the first vessel to use a 370-person CRV-55 catamaran lifeboat. One feature of these lifeboats is they can be boarded on two different levels simultaneously, decreasing loading time in the case of an emergency, which is vital for these enormous cruise ships with huge passenger and crew capacities like this. SOLAS requires that a cruise ship carry enough lifeboats to accommodate 37.5% of passengers and crew members on either side for a grand total of 75% of those on board. You might be thinking, whoa, are we sacrificing that 25%? And no, we aren't. This is where the majesty of the life raft comes into play. These are typically meant for the crew members since lifeboats are to be used for all of the passengers first. The passengers can use the life rafts in a life-threatening situation. Life rafts are kept in fiberglass canisters and use a high-pressure gas to automatically inflate them as soon as they deploy. Unlike lifeboats, they do not have motors, but they do come with oars. Cruise ships carry more than enough life rafts in the event one of the lifeboats becomes damaged or unable to be lowered in case of an emergency. Newer cruise ships utilize marine evacuation systems, which are enclosed inflatable spiral slides to transfer passengers from the embarkation deck to a waiting life raft in the sea. Think of it like those inflatable slides on airplanes that lead you down to waiting life rafts. Like I briefly covered earlier, lifeboats are found just above a middle deck on the ship with an outdoor promenade. This allows passengers to easily board during an emergency, and these locations are central for both upper and lower deck cabins. This middle location also makes it easier for the ship to dock and keeps the lifeboats from being damaged by rough seas. The location also keeps them low enough to the water that the boats don't need to be lowered the entire height of the ship in an emergency. If you find yourself on a cruise ship in an emergency, you will be really scared and tempted to rush into any lifeboat nearest you. I implore you to follow regulations so your safety and the safety of others can be properly cared for. Every cabin on board is assigned to a muster station, and these stations are addressed and assigned during your first muster drill or lifeboat drill. This is an exercise conducted by the crew of a ship prior to embarking on a voyage and must be done before leaving any port of call, thanks to the Costa Concordia disaster in 2012. These drills prepare passengers for safe evacuation in the event of an emergency on board the ship and familiarizes the crew and passengers with escape routes. During a muster drill, the use of life vests and the escape routes from the ship are explained to all passengers. The assembly station is where the passengers meet with other crew members and will be escorted to their lifeboat in the event of an evacuation. On every lifeboat, you'll find enough fuel to be able to travel at 6 knots for at least a full 24-hour day, as well as 48 hours worth of anti-seasickness medication per person and 2 seasickness bags per passenger. In terms of sustenance, the lifeboat comes equipped with 3 liters of fresh water per person, as well as 2,390 calories worth of food rations per person. The boat will also come with 3 can openers to open the food and drink. It won't be gourmet, but it will keep you alive. Lifeboats have enough life jackets for everyone on board, as well as enough thermal protective aid suits for 10% of the boat's capacity. The boat also has first aid supplies, an illuminated compass, hand and parachute flares, smoke signals, a whistle, a survival manual, a jackknife, a searchlight that will work continuously for at least 3 hours, and portable fire extinguishing equipment. They will also come with buoyant oars and an anchor. These boats come with fishing gear and tools that can be used to repair the engine as well if needed. A traditional 150-person lifeboat will not come equipped with a bathroom, but the larger 370-person catamaran boats do come equipped with toilet facilities. Lifeboats have other mandatory regulations, including their composition. Lifeboats must be made of non-combustible and flame-retardant materials. Most modern models are made of fiberglass materials. The seating on a lifeboat must be able to support a person weighing a minimum of 220 pounds as well. During the manufacturing process, lifeboats are repeatedly tested using water weights to mimic the weight of passengers around the boat. The weights are placed in different spots throughout the lifeboat during the testing period to see how the boat would handle passengers at different weights in different locations on board. Testing and inspections do not stop just because the boat passes initial inspections and is delivered to the shipyard to be installed. Throughout the life of a cruise ship, lifeboats are repeatedly tested because material on these boats do degrade and endure significant wear and tear over time. Crew members are required to conduct weekly and monthly lifeboat inspections and undergo training so that the ability to operate lifeboats stays fresh. Inspections by a certified lifeboat technician from an independent company or lifeboat manufacturer also inspects the lifeboats on an annual basis. In these inspections, they're looking for cracks, damages, or defects. They are also inspecting the ship's propulsion system, electrical system, and maneuvering system for issues. Inspectors will also check the lifeboat's equipment, including life jackets and survival equipment, to ensure all is in working order. The lifeboat's gorgeous davit and winch system, including the winch and wire ropes, are checked for defects or damages, and the lifeboat will also go through a load test to ensure that it can carry the maximum weight of crew and passengers. If any defects or deficiencies are found in the lifeboat systems or equipment, these parts are either then replaced or repaired and tested again before being reattached to the vessel. Lifeboat safety has improved leaps and bounds since the days of Titanic, though in 1963, there was still much to be desired from lifeboat safety, as seen during the fire and sinking of TSMS Laconia in December of 1963. Laconia's passengers and crew faced unforeseen horrors, and we explore that in greater detail this Sunday on the next episode of Shipwreck Sunday.